This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast since 2015. I'm outside the very fine studios of Pod Populi, Podcast for the People. It's very crowded with podcasters in there, and I was kicked out. So it's not like I own the place, and so I'm sitting outside, recording on the mic. People are walking by listening to me. So be it. So about a week ago, I'm flipping through channels on a JetBlue flight. JetBlue's gone bad in a lot of ways, but they still have the TVs. And I usually don't watch TV on the flight because JetBlue has Wi-Fi, and I would rather be online than on TV because I'd like to get some things done. But anyway, I'm flipping around. I stumble upon TBS, and they are showing, probably for the millionth time, Jerry McGuire. And so I got sucked in for a minute. I hadn't seen Jerry McGuire in a while, and Jerry McGuire is great. It still holds up, and there's a lot in there to think about, especially, what's his name? Cuba Gooding Jr. The relationship with his family is really good, and his wife is really strong. There's lots to that movie, and it still holds up. There's a lot to break down and otherwise enjoy, but a few things struck me about it. So first of all, that movie's over 25 years old. And so there's probably some of you who are like, that's an old movie, I've never seen that. But 25 years old for Jerry McGuire is like, Jesus. Secondly, Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star of the last 40 years. And I don't think there's any arguing that. From Risky Business through the latest Mission Impossible. And no matter when you're listening to this show, whether you're listening to it in 2023 or 2027, I'm sure we could say the latest Mission Impossible movie because I'm sure he's going to keep making them. But for 40 years, he has been a huge, huge star. And almost everybody agrees you always want to see a Tom Cruise movie. It is what it is. But a couple other things struck me about Jerry McGuire. First of all, Tom Cruise, a little bit of a sidebar, handsome, still looks great, famous, wealthy. He's never really been in the dating pool. He was married very young to a quite a bit older Mimi Rogers, and then he went immediately into Nicole Kidman, and then he went into Katie Holmes, and all of those have sort of their own backstory and strange story, and this isn't a Scientology-bashing observation. Believe what you want to believe, and to each their own. But post-Katie Holmes, he spent the last decade, quote-unquote, focused on his career. I'm not sure Tom Cruise was ever not focused on his career, but he wasn't really in the dating pool and isn't in the dating pool. So bravo for him, and all the better for us, because we get, I think, great movies because he's not focused on distractions. I'll call them distractions. But I was thinking, how would he have done in the dating pool? He's short. Sorry, but the shallow ladies who listen to this podcast have issues with that. And he has a personality that is a combination of intensity and fake laughs. So how would that do on a dinner date? I don't think so well. But away from Tom Cruise and back to Jerry McGuire. Second, let me get back to Jerry McGuire. Jerry McGuire has 3 all-time great lines in it. 3 memorable, quotable, part of the American lexicon. Show me the money, you complete me, and you had me at hello. Say any of the 3, and you know exactly where they came from. And props to Cameron Crowe. He has written some great movies. He won an Oscar for Almost Famous. But all of us who have made our living writing hope to write one memorable or quotable line, and he got 3 in a 90-minute sequence, and 2 of them were in one scene. That's amazing. But the other thing I noticed watching Jerry McGuire again that's relevant to the Great Love Debate is how they met. He was her boss and convinced her to leave and eventually became close to her, working a bunch of late nights, and then one night he makes a move. I mean, would that fly today? I say Jerry Maguire holds up, but could you make that movie today? Is that no longer okay? Can we even have that in the movies anymore? I don't know. I don't think it can, and that really sucks. And if someone said, hey, how did you guys meet? And the answer is or was, we worked together. Well, for most of our American existence, that was a very common and completely normal answer. It's the way most people met. They worked together. Spend 50 hours a week with somebody, that's your dating pool. So I don't want to get into dating in the work pool today, but I want to get into that, how we met and how a great line can figure into all of that. So let's meet again in 60 seconds or so. A little early on the break time today, but I got to do it. Got to take a quick break. We will be back with some semi-great lines and a whole lot more right after this. And we are back. So a question that everyone likes to ask is, how did you guys meet? I get it. I've gotten it. You've gotten it. We all get it. And I think people ask that for three reasons. I think they have genuine curiosity. I think people are like, where does a nuclear physicist meet a circus clown? They see something in the two of you that doesn't quite fit, so they are wondering, how did these two worlds collide? And I think they're interested in that, legitimately interested. Secondly, they want to know because they want to know how it might help them. You guys met at a comic book convention? Is that where I should go to meet a guy? Because you think their relationship is or can be a roadmap to your own pot of gold. That's why you ask. You're like, how did you do it? This is how I'll do it. I'll copy that and that'll work. Maybe, maybe not. But thirdly, I think they want to hear how you met because they're hoping for a swoonable story. I think they really want to hear a meet cute that will melt their heart. And I'm as guilty of that as anyone. Not of asking the question, but of seeking it. And to a big degree, for a big chunk of my life, chasing it. So I am a storyteller by nature. That's what I have done for a living. I always want to entertain. So I was always in my 20s and in my 30s obsessed with having the greatest here's how we met story ever. And I've met some women who share that. I haven't met too many men who have that. I really wanted the here is how we met to be the greatest story ever. And I would bail out of relationships too early because I didn't like how mundane the meeting was. We met through a neighbor. Ho-hum. That just didn't quite do it for me. One time my neighbor in New York, she's like, I want to introduce you to somebody. I'm like, no, that'll be a terrible meeting. And I would stay in terrible relationships too long because how we met was too valuable an asset to me to toss away. So one time, years ago, I was in a bar in Stamford, Connecticut. It's just side of New York, and just 45 miles northeast of New York City. And this girl comes up to me in the bar and she goes, David? And I said, yeah? And she says, I'm Caroline. Sorry I'm late. And it dawned on me after a few seconds, this is a blind date. And she has no idea what David looks like. Or who I am. But I'm a little drunk, so I'm like, fuck it. Let's see how long I can keep this going. Online dating, that is one advantage. You at least get somewhat of a picture of I'm not going to say an accurate picture, but you get somewhat of a picture. But apparently she was hooked up with somebody named David and told him to meet at a bar at a certain time. She was a little late. Oh, well. So I was like, all right, let's roll with this. So 10 minutes in, she's like, how do you know Lisa and Tom? And I'm like, oh, Tom and I go way back, and Lisa's just great, and blah, blah, blah. And, hey, do you want to go to this cool place around the corner? Because, first of all, yes, I'm going to steal the blind date. And second, I'm fucked if David actually shows up. And fuck him, because apparently he was even later than she was, so too bad. So anyway, we go somewhere else. And she is laughing and loving the date, and she is awesome. And around 11 p.m., I'm like, I decided to tell her. I don't know why, but I decided to sort of come clean. I thought it was risky, but I thought it would help me. I thought she would think, this is so ballsy. And you know what? She did. She loved it. She laughed about it, and we laughed about what a poor asshole David must be, blah, blah, blah. We toasted Lisa and Tom, who I did not know, who apparently got us to this position where we had met. And so we start dating. And I cannot wait to get married and have kids with her, because all I could think about is I want the kids to know how cool Dad was for stealing Mom in a blind date. The greatest story ever. But 3 months into it, the relationship isn't quite as good, and things aren't quite as blissful. And she starts to get super annoyed with me, because at the time I'm sure I was super annoying. And she would start to say things like, I bet you David wouldn't have done that, and so on. So in the back of her mind, she never quite got over the fact that I reached in and fucked with her dating fate and her sliding doors moment, and somehow it didn't turn out all so great for her. She didn't care as much about the cute story as I did, so we broke up. She wasn't as enamored or obsessed with, wasn't that cool back in the day when I stole you? She didn't fucking care anymore. C'est la vie. Not to get too much into my own sordid dating history. There's a point here. But another time I went out on a date, and me and this girl went to dinner, and then we went to a bar to meet her friend, and I woke up with the friend. And we started dating. I started dating the friend. And people would ask how we met, and she would answer, through friends. And I'm like, that's not exactly how this happened. And then we would argue about how much to reveal that didn't make her look like both a bad friend and a total hoe. So why do I bring this up? Because how people met matters to you, and I think it matters to me. On a Sunday, a lot of you have read the wedding section of the New York Times. I think they call it the vows section. And you can spend hours poring over that, because it spins a little tale of how people met. And I think that's entertaining, but the downside of that particular column is, for some reason, they always throw in a sad sentence into the mix. Either at the end, they'll tell the long story, and then they'll say, the bridegroom's first marriage ended in divorce. Or they'll lead it with, Jenny thought after her first marriage ended badly that she would never find love again. And I always read that, and I'm like, why do they have to put that in there? Why put the specter looming over the whole thing of breaking up or having broken up or having bad relationships into what should be a little 3-paragraph fairy tale? And that's what all of these hope to be, these stories. My stories, your stories, a little fairy tale. We meet cute, and then hopefully we get to happily ever after. So I did a quick browsing of some of them in the New York Times last week after this all got started with Jerry McGuire, and I want to think about meeting, and I want to share it with you guys. And some are similar to mine. So just to read a couple. Kelly Carter's fantasies of meeting a man while shopping for almond milk took a back seat when Marino McCaplin unexpectedly commented on her tweet. So you get a modern love and modern technology, and it kind of threw off her dreams, and then she met who she met. So she was like me. She wanted this cute almond milk story. I don't even know if that's cute. That's what she wanted, and then the tweet changed her life. Good for the tweet. Another one. Sarah Gwen and Eric Kuhn's connection grew slowly during early morning meetups at Brooklyn cafes. Now they are partners in life and at Gwyn Coffee Supply, founded by Ms. Gwen. So I read that. I'm like, does that count as a good old-fashioned workplace romance? Or do they just say, I can help with your business? I don't know. Maybe. And I kind of like it. Another one. Ross Ulrich and Jessica Carter Altman, the daughter of Linda Carter Altman, who played Wonder Woman in the 1970s, expected their encounter to be brief, and it was not. It's the way their wedding thing started out. So I have some issues with that one. On the downside, I'm sure Miss Carter didn't like growing up in the shadow of her famous and definitely beautiful mom, so I'm not sure why mom has to be in the first sentence of the wedding story. On the other hand, Linda Carter has aged stunningly, so props on the road ahead for Ross Ulrich on his wedding day. I'll give you one more. After a year-long dating hiatus, cautiously embracing something new, friendship came naturally to Andy Flower and Veronica Savage, but romance was difficult to see, yet they persisted all the way to the yacht rock dating altar. So there's a lot to unpack in this one, but if the opening sentence of your wedding announcement contains the words dating hiatus, cautiously, difficult and persisted, I think these two got to file the divorce papers now. And I say that as someone who loves yacht rock and would love a yacht rock wedding. I don't care how much Christopher Cross is on your soundtrack. This whole relationship seems like it needs a therapist couch, particularly her. But these stories, or any stories, don't have quite as much relevance to me now, because going back to Jerry McGuire, I think now as I record this in 2023, I think I care more about the line. The great line. Because more than half of relationships now are beginning online. And we met online is never going to be a great story. Sorry, I not to throw another one of my dating stories. Back in the day, back in the Match.com days, I went out with a girl I met on Match.com. I just couldn't get over the fact that I met her on Match.com. I'm like, what a loser, she's on Match.com. Even though I found her on Match.com, that's how fucked up I was. But I never really got over, like, we met online. It just seemed too boring for me. But even if you meet online, that's where the silver lining is, meeting online has to begin with a great conversation. And a great conversation, I believe, either starts with or contains a really inspiring line. Somebody said something. So now when I ask a couple how they met, I always want to know, what did he say as an opener? What words did he use to stand out from the crowd? Or if it's Bumble, what did she say? Because it absolutely matters. 2/3 or so of opening lines online are either, hey, hi, or the worst one, how is your day? And none of those have ever led to or will ever lead to marriage. Zero. None. I don't have the facts to back that up, but I'm going to say that's true. So you got to rethink that, all you guys, if you're leading with that. You'll never find a couple who says, well, they said, hey, and I responded, and now we're engaged. You're just not going to find that. So you may not need a great story to find eternal happiness, and maybe you had me at hello. It's probably used in online dating, which you should not use that either. But something similar to that, or as evolved as that, is probably beyond your conversational capability, and mine too. So why do I bring this all up? I think because now we're at a point where the actions, when it comes to dating, don't speak louder than the words. I think the words are the story now. So you got to make the words matter, and you got to make them memorable. In 10 years, your kids will assume you met through some sort of technology, virtual dating or an app or social media. They won't ask how you met mom. They will ask, what did you say to get mom's attention? Because kids are very big into that. What did you do to separate yourself from this sea of other people? How did you ask mom out? What was the line? What were the words? And not everybody is eloquent, and not everybody is particularly quippy or witty. As I've always said, knock knock has as good a chance to work as anything else, because you're probably going to get an answer. Because they're going to be like, how could this jackass come out with knock knock? The curiosity will kill them, and they'll want to know. They'll say, who is there? And then you go from there. But anyway, you can overcome not being that original or any of this stuff with sincerity and honesty and originality. Hey, that's nothing. Hi, that's lazy. How was your day? Completely pointless. So our dreams of me and a girl or you and a guy fighting over a parking space and then falling in love rom-com style, I think they absolutely can and should remain. But most meetings are a lot less interesting than that. So let's make the words matter. Make those the one you talk about for generations, the ones to impress your friends, the ones to tell your kids. A lot of relationships do start with show me the money, but those aren't romantic. Those mostly happen in Vegas. And you had me at hello. I think you need to have a whole lot words before and after hello to make the hello matter at all. So you got to focus on what you say, and you got to think about what you said. That's the new meet cute. Ask the next, dozen couples you encounter, what was the first thing she said to you? What was the first thing you remember him saying? And their answer, it could be silly, it could be fun, It could even be offensive. But if they're still together, there's definitely some cute. It's not a mission impossible. You want more words? Give me some. Like, share, follow. Please review this podcast. Your reviews have and will always mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com. Give me your thoughts. Give me your words. Give me the first thing you said to your significant other. I really want to hear those. I think we're going to do an episode totally devoted to great opening lines. Send those in, greatlovedebate at gmail.com. Go to greatlovedebate.com for information on upcoming shows. Hopefully we'll meet cute in a town near you, because, as always, at the Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.